So we're back with the new season. I don't even want to say season. We're back. As you can see, we have another person that's joining us here today. This is my brother Ryder. This is who, if you see me over the past 2-3 years, anywhere I've been at, this guy's been with me, and that's for a great reason. Reason being is he's one of my best friends. I don't consider him to be like a brother or friend. Like that's blood to me. And then obviously to the writer of RYDER, you have my father, Greg. And in conversation one day, my dad, he knew that RYDER had a story to tell, not even really even knowing him to that extent. So we just felt like it just made sense to bring RYDER along with this new journey of conversations that cure. So welcome, my boy. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you even being like, yo, I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that was real cool, because it's one thing to have conversations with people over the phone or driving in the car on the way to a show, but it's another thing to sit down and like consciously and intentionally have conversations and be comfortable and be transparent and be vulnerable with it in a safe space. So like, I appreciate it, bro. I definitely do. But we're gonna get right into this thing. As y'all know, one of our mottos of Conversations That Cure, me and my father, is like time capsule. I've always been trying to just share my story, our story of how life was growing up, and my perspective being his son, his perspective being my father, and then also my lens of now being a father and him seeing his son turn into a father. So we like to just share like some experiences. Sometimes we're gonna have a story, sometimes we're not. We might just have a lesson. We just wanna just share with y'all from some things that individually we went through. But for today, I want to talk about the story of, I guess you can say, my fourth grade. For fourth grade for me it was a crazy year. A new school. I think that was my second school since we had been in Florida. I think all through elementary I was in a different school every year because we were moving. And as a kid, I don't know why we're moving. I'm just thinking, the lease is up and now it's time to move on to something else. But for the most part, it was progressively growth related, I would say so. But there was one particular time where I didn't know it was growth related. I just thought that I got like an early summer break to Virginia. I'm leaving in the third 9 weeks of the fourth grade, and I'm going to Virginia, living with my grandparents, and my teacher's mailing me my schoolwork every week. And thank God for her. Shout out Miss McWilliam Thompson. I'm 35 years old, and I still remember that lady's name because she definitely played she had a huge hand in allowing things to move forward for our family instead of going a different route. But I was sending schoolwork home every week, and I didn't know what was going on. I love Virginia. I love being with my grandparents and my family. So I was like, bet I get to go to Virginia early. So cool. And I get to do my homework here and then go outside. This is, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But that was my perspective as your son, a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid. As the father, Greg, what was going on?
Well, at that time, we had moved down, and the transition from New York to Florida, it was kind of hard because I had to find out exactly what I wanted to do. But I always knew that I did not want to work for somebody for the rest of my life. Hands down, I knew that. But I didn't know the process that I had to go through to get there. And in this incident, I was working for a company. I was an assistant supervisor on the property maintenance, and they decided to bring a whole new company in. When they brought the company in, normally when new companies come aboard, they normally just get rid of everybody.
Completely new culture.
They
wipe them out.
They don't care who you are. So mind you, I'm living on property. We find out a new company's coming in, and they let us know that eventually they're going to get rid of everybody. So it came down to me, and they got rid of the supervisor first. Then after they got rid of the supervisor, eventually all the workers had to leave. So at that time, I'm with my family. Y'all were young, and I'm petrified.
Second and fourth grade.
Yes, I'm petrified because I don't know what I'm going to do. So, mind you, now living on property, the rent was, it wasn't that much. We got a discount on the rent. So, when they brought the new company on, I didn't have the money to move forward and stay there because I could not afford the rent. So we end up getting evicted. When we got evicted, I had to ship y'all to my mother's house. But it was in that season that I had to make a decision. Am I going to believe enough within the talent that I have? Or am I going to go look and get another job? Which to me, to get another job was...
Put you right back.
Yeah, it did not make me feel secure. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a job. That's to each his own. But I didn't have confidence in working for somebody else. I had the confidence in working for myself. So when that time came, it was hard. So I remember we was at a church and one of the members had found out that we was homeless and they said, we can come live with them. Now, we sent y'all to my mother's house. But at the time, y'all didn't know that we was in the projects in somebody's living room on a mattress, sleeping on a mattress. I tell you, I couldn't sleep one night. Only thing I can do is stay up and think about you all, and then think about, at the time, your mother. And I remember nights sitting up looking at her, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. So in that time, somebody had found out that I cut hair. And they allowed me to go to, at the time, Blue Chip Barbershop. So when I went in there to the barbershop, I didn't know nobody knew me. So I still had to establish myself. Going to the barbershop, start cutting hair. In 2 weeks, I only got one client. And I had to continue to look at your mother at the time in her face. I was shameful. But I couldn't run. Where was I going to go? Because the first thing I wanted to do was to find a way to escape what I was going through. I wanted to run. I wanted to run so bad, but I couldn't run. I had nowhere to run. So the only thing I was able to do, I had to run right back into myself. So I had to sit and try to figure this thing out. I had to try to figure out, how is this thing going to work? Here it is. I'm in a barbershop. In 2 weeks, I got one client. Now I need to take y'all from that that living room within 2 months to get a place. So in moving in that situation right there, I had to encourage my own self. I had to figure out how this is going to work, because I couldn't run. Because the first thing I wanted to do was run. So of course, like I said, I had to run back into myself. Because I believed in what I was going to do, doors opened. Doors opened. Now, when I went into the barbershop, this is the funny thing, I didn't have a license. I didn't have a license at all. But the owner of the shop allowed me to come in and work. He said, I just need you to get your license. He allowed me to come in and work. I got into the barbershop. People found out I was from New York. But in New York, they didn't use the razor. I had to come down here and find out what a razor tape was. So in the barbershop, I had got favor with one of the best barbers in there, and I forget his name. His name was Sean. Sean taught me how to do everything. But mind you, in the back of my head, I couldn't flip. I had to stay focused because y'all are with your mother. With my mother. And I'm still trying to figure out, how am I going to make this thing work? And I'll never forget, there was nights I would sleep And I was ashamed to ask your mother how she was doing. I was ashamed to ask her, is she okay? She was working, but her paycheck wasn't enough to support us. But I was ashamed. And I didn't sleep, but I had to focus. I had to pull myself together. And in the barbershop, eventually, things begin to roll. Things begin to move forward.
So, I remember coming back from Virginia and you working at a barbershop, and I thought it was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And for one, that was when the seed of a barber got planted in me. And I feel like that's when I got the first time I ever saw you in a position where I saw you was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you was uncomfortable. The thing that stuck with me the most was that I never for once felt like you was gonna give up. I knew things weren't right, but I didn't know things were that bad, because your inability to walk with the mindset of, I don't know if it's gonna work, it never seeped on me. I never picked that up in my intuition with you. You know, my discernment never felt like afraid. I felt uneasy, but I never felt afraid. And I think that played a huge factor into getting into my barber industry and into my barber journey. When I had that experience at the shop where I worked the whole week and made $40, you know, and coming home and being super depressed, being suicidal, I was able to revert back to that lesson. I was able to revert back to 9-year-old Corey looking at Greg going to the barbershop at 5 a.m. in the morning and not coming home till 11 o'clock at night. Like, bro, there would be times where I wouldn't see him for days, because he was out the shop. He was out the house before the sun was up, because he was opening up the shop at 5:30 a.m. because he ain't make no money. But then my bedtime's 9 o'clock. He walking in the house at 11. So it would literally be days on end where I wouldn't see him. But in that time, it subconsciously, it showed me what hard work looks like. It showed me, and I've adapted that mindset of like, I always tell myself, I'll figure it out. And I got that from watching you live, not saying it to me, but living it. There's something that you told me last year that I think about it so much now. A child's not gonna do what you tell them, they're gonna do what you show them.
That's right. That's right.
And you showed me that when adversity presents itself to you, that's not an excuse, but it's an opportunity for growth.
It's an opportunity for growth.
I think that is crazy that even in the fact that he didn't have to tell you or show you, like you had no idea what was going on.
No idea, bro. I thought I got an early vacation, bro. On everything I love, I swear, I thought I got an early vacation because I was doing good in school. Because I started doing good in school. I didn't find out until I was 15, and my mother told me
that you guys were homeless.
Yeah.
So with giving you a little bit of perspective, and like I said, without him even telling you what was going on, all you did was watch his footsteps and see what he was doing, and not having that knowledge is wild. So what was being a husband and a father, going through those things at that time? Myself, I'm a new father. My daughter's going to be 1. I fear that. I fear failure. I don't ever want that child to have to go through anything that I went through, or anything that I know, like the situations and stories like I hear. So what was your mindset, and what did you do going forward when you started getting busy in the barbershop and things like that? Like, what was it like bringing them back down here?
You know something, one thing I thought about when I was going through all this, I've never seen my mother or my stepfather give up. So I don't know what give up looks like. I don't even know what it sounds like. Only thing that they showed me was how to continue, how to continue to move forward. So because when things got hard, I knew I had to figure this out, because I didn't know how to give up. I didn't know how to quit. I didn't know how to say, well, you know, I'm just not gonna do this. This is just not gonna work. I didn't know or was ever shown that, but I was shown in hard times, this is what you do. You don't stop.
Constant perseverance.
You constantly move forward. You don't give up. So because of that right there, it allowed me to begin to speak to myself, because I became, at that time, there was no encouragement. There was nobody around me. I was too embarrassed to tell anybody. I got my wife sleeping on the floor in somebody's living room in the projects. But I knew I wasn't going to stay there. So what did I have to do? I had to reimagine myself in a greater place. I had to think bigger than that whole apartment. I had to think bigger than the project. I had to see myself going to the barbershop making a lot of money. I had to see myself going to the barbershop, moving him into a house. We wanted a house. We wanted to get a house. So what did we do? I think it was at that time we ended up moving into DeWitt, the house on DeWitt.
In Indian Ponds.
Yeah, on Indian Ponds. But I had to reimagine it. I had to think of myself outside of what I was going through, because if I didn't reimagine what I was, my future, I would have got stuck. I would have stayed there. So there were times I would just sit and I would just think, and I would say to myself, I'm gonna have this house. I'm gonna make this money. I'm gonna have clients in the barbershop. That's what I knew at the time, because my passion was to be able to take care of my family. That was my passion. That was my passion. And I didn't have the greatest teachers, but I had a good enough example that don't give up.
So it was the mindset of persevering through it all,
Yes.
and continuing to have a strong foundation to boost yourself forward.
Yes.
Constantly. And I see that even in him today,
Yes.
through
Yes.
all his trials and tribulations and things that he's got going on. And I think that's one thing that all three of us have in common,
Yes.
is that constant perseverance. No matter what hits the fan, no matter what goes down, we have to continue to strive forward.
We
And I
have to
see
continue. That's right. That's
It's definitely
right.
a theme amongst the three of us, for sure.
I seen this video on Instagram the other day. It had like 2 rows and like 2 silver balls, and then on one side the road to the end was straight, and then it had the other one, the ball was like hitting dips, and it was a perfect depiction of how life can be. It was like, in your valleys is when you build your momentum for your peaks. Instead of being on a linear, but in those dips where things seem to be out of control and going crazy is when you got to really imagine and be comfortable with your valley, because in every valley there is a new mountaintop that you have to. But the only way you can build that momentum to catapult you to that mountaintop is through your valley, through that adversity.
That's right.
And I've seen that. I've seen that in him. I don't, to this day, like, bro, like you seen it, I don't know how to give up. Like my mind don't function like that. And I'm not saying that I'm superhuman, because there's plenty of times where, like, bro, I sit in my room and cry. There's days where I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to do nothing. But I know that it's okay to have those moments, because I'm human, and me being human, I have to show myself grace. I have to show myself grace, and I have to give myself patience and time to understand that, like, I'm growing through this thing. I'm not going through it.
That's right.
You know, these things are happening for me. They're not happening to me.
That's right.
So if I keep that mindset, the same mindset that I've seen him show me, the same mindset that I see you have in our relationship over the years, seeing the stuff that you went through, you maintained that consistent push, that 1%, even in those valleys. When your brother passing away, I was so stressed out about that, bro. But that was the value of the valley for you, because that boy was your everything. But you didn't use that as an excuse to run away.
Yeah.
You know, you sat in those emotions and you envisioned, and you knew the strength. You knew that you poured into who Mike was so much as a person, that the reason why I had to go through the stuff I went through, and the reason why I had to pour into myself, was because of this moment. I needed to gain that strength to be able to fight through what I'm feeling.
To weather any storm that comes about.
Come on, man.
Yeah, because when you think about it as men, one of the things I learned was this, is that my greatest concern was not only how I thought about myself, was what you thought about me, was what Nene thought about me, was what your mother thought about me. And until I was able to look in the mirror and see my own self doing better, I wasn't going to be able to move forward. The reason I was able to speak to your mother at that time was because I saw myself doing better. That was the reason. When I said we was going to get a house, we was going to be able to get a house, we was in the valley at the time when I said it. But I had to imagine myself getting out. I didn't know how.
And see, I'm gonna say that, and we're gonna close it right here. When Nova was born, I had a conversation with Chas. I said, hey, I need to speak to my father more now than I ever have in my life. I need to talk to him every day. And she was like, why? I was like, because the more I speak to my father, the better father I'm gonna be for my children. 100%. And rightfully so. She was like, well, everybody make mistakes. You know, your dad ain't perfect, 100%. And she was 1,000% right by saying that. But then I had to say, what I said was like, that's why. It's because the things that he do good, I'm gonna take him and apply. And the things that I saw him mess up and make mistakes with, I'm gonna use those as lessons and knowledge in the future for my children, so that way I don't make the same mistakes. Kai's the same age as I was when I had to go live in Virginia right now. I couldn't imagine being in that position right now. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine, but I also understand that, like, I gotta get closer to Greg, because the closer I am to Greg, the more understanding I'm gonna have about who Corey is. With that, we're gonna close it today. We're gonna pick up again. This was perfect.
Beautiful.
It was perfect, man. First time. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We will be dropping episodes with y'all weekly, man. Thank you so much. Y'all take care. From episode 1 of the new Conversations That Cure. Thank you.
Thank you.